This is Minister Mike, and I want you to consider this. Who controls your mind? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Who controls my mind? Who controls my action? Who's my primary influence of why I do what I do? Romans 12:2 tells us, and I paraphrase that, not to conform to the customs and things of this world, but to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. And then we will be able to discern and recognize God's good and perfect will. And with that, there are so many things that we could probably consider to be influences that we may not even recognize influence us, whether it be people, media, television, internet, wherever that influence may be. Those things may cause us to do things that we may not necessarily want to, or may not necessarily be beneficial for our progress. See, this text tells us not to conform to the things of this world, but to be transformed and renewed in our minds, to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. And the renewing of our minds, it occurs when we embrace and accept Christ, when we take on that mind of Christ. And then when we take on that mind of Christ, we're able to understand what God wants us to do, God's will for us, God's purpose for us. Our purpose won't be aligned with what other people tell us what we should be, but what God wants us to be. So as you go through this week, I want you to honestly ask who controls what I do? Who controls my mind? Why do I do what I do? Who's my major influence? And then you're on the path to progress. So begin this week with the renewing of your mind, so you can understand God's will and purpose for you in this life. This is Minister Mike, and I want you to consider this.